Hello. It says I'm live. Wow, that thing just did a weird focus. Don't know what that was. It just went whoop. I'm going to go ahead and get started with like a recap of last week and what we talked about. My dress is all like squished up under me. It's annoying me. So let me adjust. I had it adjusted and then I moved. Okay, so maybe that's better. Anyways, we talked last week about being aware of your surroundings, being aware of who you're around, the people, the situations, just everything that's going on around you, even the machines or whatever that's around you. We need to be aware of what it's doing to us and what it could do to us so we can know what's going on, in our surroundings and stay safe. And then sometimes we need to make sure we're surrounded by ones that are going to, what in the world? Oh, it's my motion detector camera. That's why you do it, I guess. Anyway, my security camera went off. There's nothing there. It just was vibrating. I didn't know what it was. So, because you usually have it and it makes a noise. But that time, of course, it didn't. And it's probably a squirrel. Yes, a squirrel. Okay, so anyways, we need to be around. You're not late. I've just started talking, just a recap of last week. I'm not even started on what we're talking about today. I'm just kind of recapping what we talked about just in case. And also, I want you guys to remember, if ever you do miss and you want to see the Bible study and maybe comment in the comments or something like that, I do have a playlist of all of them, and I'm going to keep them on there as far as I know for good. I'm not planning on taking them off. But anyway, we need to be aware of our surroundings, who we're around, what we're around, even in places that we think are good, places that we don't think there will be bad things, places we think that are safe. We still need to be aware because there could be things or people there that are not looking out for your best interest. And so that's what we talked about last week. And we talked about, one of my things that I was talking about was John 4:19, the woman at the well. She didn't know who was there because she wasn't really aware of her surroundings. She knew she was looking for the Messiah, but she knew he was supposed to be coming, but she didn't know she was actually talking to him because her eyes weren't open to truth. So Jesus opened her eyes to truth, and then she went and told others. So that's what we were talking about last week. This week, I want to talk about something a little bit different. A lot of people talk about, and if you see the title, it says Proverbs 31 women. I'm not talking about how to be a Proverbs 31 woman. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm talking about the women that are either talking or being talked about in this proverb. Today, we're only going to cover Proverbs 31, 1 through 9. The reason why we are is because I want to talk about somebody who I have never heard a Bible study on that I can ever remember. I've never heard her preached about. I've never heard her talked about much. I've never heard anyone who brought her to the forefront, and that is King Lemuel's, and I may not be saying it right, Lemuel's mother. Because Proverbs 31 is his mother talking to him about who he should be and who he should be looking for. So I want to kind of just go through today and go through each verse. But, I mean, there's not a lot known about this king. I don't even know if he's actually in the Bible anymore than just this. I don't remember. I would have to look more, but I wasn't wanting to focus on him, and that's why I didn't do more study on him. I wanted to focus on Mama. And even if you're not a mother now, even if you are going to be a mother one day, or you want to be a mother one day, or maybe you're pregnant right now, so you're already a mother and you're going to, be having a baby, or maybe you have nieces and nephews, or maybe you have some child who looks up to you. Maybe you have, maybe you have someone in your life, a niece, nephew, cousin, like I said, neighbor. Maybe you're a teacher. Maybe there's someone, even if you're not an actual mother right now, or you never will be, there's still someone you can be a mother to in these senses, in these ways. So I want to just go through and talk about the things that King Lemuel's mother taught him in these 9 little verses. And the first one is really, it's just pretty much what I just said. The sayings of King Lemuel, and I hope I'm saying that right. I may not be. An inspired utterance his mother taught him. Because, I mean, we can all be teachers. We can all be guides to other people. Even, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but even our friends that may not be in the Word as much as us, or may not be maybe a new Christian. They may be new to God's laws or Bible reading, or I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but they may be a new Christian. They could be a baby Christian, and you could be someone who could be a help to them in these ways. So the second verse is, listen, my son, listen, son of my womb, listen, my son, to answer the answer to my prayers. So that tells me in verse 2 that she prayed for this child. She is saying, you are an answer to my prayers. I have 2 of those. I have 2 answers to my prayers. And I can say now that I do want them to listen to me. As me being their mother, I want them to listen to me. I don't want them to ignore what I say. And I do want to get on down in a little bit. I have notes, and I'm kind of excited about this one because it means a lot to me right now. Lemuel means devoted to God, is what my Bible notes say. And this is the NIV also, just in case y'all want to know. And I do have all the stuff in the links down below. In the description down below. Links down below. Okay, so the next one, verse 3 says, do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings. Okay, if we think about it, we know there's some women in the Bible that we've read about, heard about, that mess some people up. They really hurt men. Like Samson. Delilah really messed him up. She caused him to die, essentially. He did die in a way that was glorifying God, was doing something for God, but this woman was leading him in the wrong path. So Lemuel's mother is saying, don't spend your time on only that. Watch who you're talking to. Watch who you're following. Don't just fall in love with the pretty little thing that's next door, you know. Is it Lemuel? Is that how you say it? Okay. Lemu. I don't know how to say it. Lemuel? Okay. If I'm saying it wrong, Carol, please tell me. So she's saying, to don't spend all your strength on that. Don't spend all your time. Yes, you're supposed to, if you're courting a girl, you're supposed to, love her, or if you are to that point, but you're supposed to spend time with her, you're supposed to pay attention to her, but don't devote everything to her. And this could go the opposite way too. It could be speaking to a daughter as well. I'm just using this, her and him, because it's mother and son, but it can be father and daughter, it can be mother and daughter, or whatever like that. Blue Letter Bible, yeah. I actually think I have that one in the links, I think. So that was the first thing that she said, is for him to listen, and don't spend all of your time on a woman, on this one thing that could ruin you. Because remember, he is a king. And honestly, it doesn't matter if he's a king or not. He still shouldn't do that. 4 is it is not for kings, Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, not for rulers to crave beer. Now, myself, I grew up where that, people said if you drink, you're a rank sinner, and, you're going to hell, and all these different things. I have different feelings about alcohol than others. I don't drink myself, but I'm not going to condemn someone else for doing it, which I think I've talked about this before. But she's telling him, you're not supposed to go get drunk and cloud your mind, cloud your judgment. You're not supposed to be doing those things. And down here in my notes on my Bible, it says, drunkenness might be understandable among dying people in great pain, but it is inexcusable for national leaders. Alcohol clouds the mind and can lead to injustice and poor decisions. Leaders have better things to do than anesthetize themselves with alcohol. Okay. Then verse 5, lest they drink and forget what has been decreed and deprive all the oppressed of their rights. So kings, back in whenever Moses was telling the people to, he was leading the people and he helped. And there's different stories in the Bible. The one where the king and the two women, let me just start this over. The king had the two women come to him with the baby, and one of the babies had died and the other one was alive, and one was saying, that's my baby, and the other one was saying, no, it's my baby. And then the king says, oh, okay, well, we'll just cut it in half and give you each half. Well, if the king had not been wise enough to know which mother was the right one, then the baby might have been killed, or it might have went to the wrong mother. But he said, let's just cut it in half. And then the real mother said, no, let her have him. Let her have the baby, So he was wise enough to lead in a proper way. And I'm not saying that he was, not drinking or whatever, but I really didn't want to stay on that part. But if we don't have our minds unclouded, if we have our minds clouded and we don't know what's going on, we can make very poor judgments. A lot of times, I know when I used to drink and party and all that stuff, there were times I made the decisions that I shouldn't have made. Nothing that was like detrimental to me, nothing that was something that was going to hurt me in the long term, but kind of stupid stuff. Sometimes, you get hurt or you just get embarrassed or whatever, that kind of thing. So anyways, what she's telling him is, don't do this stuff because you need to be of clear mind so you can lead the people. And then verse 6 says, let beer be for those who are perishing, wine for those who are in anguish. Let them drink and forget their poverty and remember their misery no more. That's verse 6 and 7. I probably just should have read all those 4 verses together. But it's saying, let that be for the sick people who are dying. Don't do it yourself. Don't be doing that. She was really on that one. And then verse 8 says, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. So what she's telling him is, as a king, you speak up for the little man, the one that has no voice. You be that voice for that one who has no voice. And I have told my children different times, whenever they've come to me and, maybe one friend was being mean to another friend or something like that. And, they asked my advice, wanted to know what I thought. And I would tell them, tell this friend who's doing wrong that they are doing wrong, that it's not right. I mean, don't be in a fight. Don't throw hands. Don't go to the point of violence, but let them know this is not the correct way to be. This is not how you should act. And there have been times where that they have, smoothed over situations and stuff. And there's been times where they have brought their friends to me and I've talked to them and stuff, and, talked to different parents about things, or even their cousins, my sisters, or whatever might be going on that has happened throughout the years. But what she's telling him, I would think, is speak out for the little man, the one who has no voice, and be the protector of the people, the protector of the ones who just can't do for themselves. And then verse 9 says, speak up and judge fairly, defend the rights of the poor and needy. So she's telling him, don't just sit back and not say anything and just let your kingdom fall apart and the ones with the money and the power get all the glory and all the little people just get worse, because if a king just sits back and doesn't protect his subjects, then the kingdom will fall. The subjects will rebel. And even if they're not powerful, if enough of the ones that are not powerful, that really don't have much, if enough of them get together, it can become a great army. And so she's telling him, be fair. At least that's my thought. So that is what I thought of those 9 verses. I believe she's a wise mother because she's telling her child to be a good person. And, later on, she tells him what type of wife to look for, but I want to do that one next week. I want to go into that next week because today I have to go to the grocery store and stuff, so I don't have as much time as I normally do. And plus, I want to give his mother more time than the actual Proverbs 31 woman. But I do notice that a lot of times people just skip down to verse 10 and they don't talk about mama. And mama is the one who is seeing everything. She's the one who is protecting her babies. She's the one that has the most influence in the beginning of a child's life. And it doesn't say how old this king is, but we know that there are kings in the Bible that were very young. This man could be an adult because, he is going to be marrying age. He could have been still a child and, she was just getting a little advance warning on how to live or what kind of wife to look for. But with it being Mother's Day soon, next week, in a few days, I kind of wanted to talk about the mama. Because being a mom myself and being a daughter, I know that my parenting style is different from my mother's. And I believe that's the way it is. I know that my mama's parenting style is different from what her mother was. And it's just something we need. I mean, we all have our different styles, but it's something that we need to watch. And I wanted to just read you the notes I took. The first one was King Lemuel's mother was wise in teaching him the kind of wife he should seek. She was wise doing that. She was wise in the type of character she was trying to build in her son, because the mother is the first one that starts building character in a child. His mother was Bathsheba. Oh, okay. How did I not know that? I didn't study him. I need to go back and study more. Let's see. I didn't even look at that. Where did you find that was his mother? Question marks? I don't know what the question marks are for. Don't know who his mother was. Now I'm wondering. Who his actual mother was. In your notes? Why doesn't it say that to mine? Because mine says, well, this is just one of my Bibles. Little is known about Lemuel except that he was a king who received wise teachings from his mother. His name means devoted to God. Some believe that Lemuel and Agar were both from the kingdom of Massa in northern Arabia. So I don't know. Solomon? This isn't Solomon, though. Now I'm going to have to do more research later. Because now I want to know exactly who his mother was if we can find out. Because I don't know. Anyways, where was I at? We need to guide our children in a way of God's will. Like, I know there was part of the time after I had my children that I was not living for God. I was not a Christian and I was not doing as I should. So there was no way for me to actually lead them in a godly manner. They still turned out great. I mean, I did get my act together and God opened my eyes to a lot. Oh, your pastor taught on this? Okay. I'm going to have to do more study. I was just really trying to focus on not who the people actually were, but what she was teaching him. But there was a time whenever I wasn't teaching my children. Well, I wasn't teaching them bad things, but I was not teaching them to follow God because I wasn't following God. I wasn't allowing them to do things that weren't. That's true, Carol. Everybody learns something new. Yeah, well, I mean, like I've said before, I'm not a scholar. I just study, and I have never studied the entire Bible. So that's one reason I wanted to do this, is because I can learn from you guys. And if I can, this is not for me to teach everything. This is just for me to tell you guys, and then you guys to talk back. And I love that. That's why I wanted to do this. That was the whole purpose of me doing the Bible studies like this, because if there's something that I can be taught that I don't know about the Bible, like my pastor never has. Any pastor I've ever gone, where I've gone to church that I remember, has never talked about this part. But anyway, like I said, I wanted to be able to have discussion back and forth. Wow, that looked like I was moving my hands way too fast. But I wanted to be able to have discussion with you guys back and forth. And like if we were in my living room and we were having Bible study, having a cup of coffee and just talking, like Bible study should be like, small groups should be like getting together and learning about the Lord. But that was the whole reason I wanted to do this whole entire thing. But anyway, let me go back to this. But I was talking about how that there was a time where I was not leading my children. Not that I was leading them astray. Not that I was leading them in any way that they shouldn't go. I was still teaching them right from wrong. I was still teaching them how to be good people. But I was not teaching them like I knew back from whenever I was a child, things I had learned in Sunday school and stuff, but I wasn't trying to teach them what the Bible says. And one of the reasons why I was not is because I was not doing what the Bible said, and I didn't feel like I should or could or whatever. But anyways, my point was we need to guide our children in God's will. Hey, Donna, you did make it. And then let's see, where was I at? The next part was we can guide children even if we don't have our own children. I wanted to bring that out because even if we don't have a child of our own, we may have someone that we mentor. There may be, I know before I had children, there were children always around me. I mean, ever since I can remember, there's always been children around me. I have 3 younger sisters, and I have lots of cousins, and then I had nieces and nephews and, stuff like that. So there's always been younger people around me. So you don't have to actually be a parent to guide someone in the right way, in a godly manner. And then I said, I wrote down, we even need to guide our children even when they are grown and in their own authority. This man was a king. He had authority. He had authority more than his mother. He had a kingdom. So he had more power, in the man sense, in men's sense, human sense. He had more power than his mother, but she was still guiding him in his character. And like my children are 21 and 22, and they're both, I could not ask for better children. I don't think I say I don't want to brag, but I do. My kids are really good. They both made mistakes, but not as bad as I have in some ways. They're not perfect, but they are so, their character is attractive because they're good people. You can just tell that they're good people. And I can say I'm very proud of them. And I know, they say you're not supposed to have pride and all this stuff, but it's not like some kind of pride, like I think they're better than other people or anything like that. It's a sense that God's telling me I did something right. I did raise my children in a way, or not just me, of course. Their daddy had a lot of influence, but my children were raised in a way that I can be proud of them and not be ashamed of that. And even though they're 21 and 22, they still have a lot to learn. Because yes, they're adult age. Yes, they're adult size, but they don't know a lot. So they can still come to me. Everyone makes mistakes, sometimes mistakes that last through their lifetimes. As a parent, we need to be there for them no matter what, even if they do things that we do not agree with or lead. Right, Donna, that is so true. there's things that my children have done that were pretty stupid whenever they were younger. But lifestyles we do not agree with. We do not abandon our kids no matter. Exactly. You never abandon your kids. Your kids are supposed to be, I mean, I believe until the day I die, if my child comes to me for advice, I'm supposed to seek God, or I should say it this way. I should be seeking God that no matter what age my children are, if they come to me, that God will help me guide them in the right way. And that was the last thing that I had written down. Yeah, I've heard of people kicking their kids out. Yeah. And that's something I'd never do. I don't care what my child does. I'm not kicking them out. They're going to always know that they are wanted. They're going to always know that they are two of the most important humans to me, that no matter what, see, I have to be able to forgive the way God forgives. And they may do something that's so stupid that it ruins their lives, but they're still my babies. I don't care what they do. They're still mine. And God gave them to me. And I don't care what they do. There's no way I'd turn my back on them. But the last thing I wrote down, which I know we can talk more, but the last thing I wrote down is the way we lead is by seeking God's guidance ourselves. If we're not seeking God, then we can't lead them in a godly manner. And I said, that's exactly what I said. If we are not in the Word ourselves, we won't know what it says. That's what I wrote down. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Y'all know I do that all the time. But we've got to be the ones who are going to be there unconditionally, as Donna said. We're going to have to be the ones that are sometimes the voice of reason. We've also got to be the ones that when we make mistakes, we have to go tell them, hey, I messed up. I'm not perfect. I told you something that was wrong. I'm sorry for misleading you. I wasn't, now if we're meaning to mislead our child, that is just wrong. But if we accidentally, if it's something we have missed the mark somehow, or we have misunderstood the meaning, or if we have made a mistake, it's one thing. You can't go apologize for doing something on purpose to hurt your child. I mean, well, you could, but if you hurt them on purpose, you didn't really love them. It's kind of how I feel. I could be wrong. But no matter what my children do, which I don't think that they're going to do anything that would ever make me not want them here. I mean, I can tell you, Noah has his mother's temper, and y'all don't see that. Y'all don't see that I have a bad temper that God has helped me to learn how to control. But Noah has his mother's temper. I used to just fly off the handle and just go just crazy. And he has that. And I know he has the potential to say things that he should not say, just like any of us do. There have been times where Noah greatly disrespected me because we were arguing and he didn't see that things were not as they should be. And I did learn during that season. It was a very short season, and I think it had a lot to do with puberty. Yeah, I can understand that, Don. I've heard of that a lot of times, people doing that. That just, you shouldn't. But there was a season in our lives where that Noah, he disrespected me in some ways. He yelled. He didn't ever hit me or physically anything, but he said things that were hurtful. But I think it was hormones a lot, because he got to a certain point where he would see what he was doing and he would go to his room. And then later he'd come back and he'd apologize, because he didn't understand what was going on in his mind. He didn't understand why he was angry. He didn't understand what was going on. And so me as a mother, I could have been really unforgiving. I could have been unreasonable, and I could have looked to him and said, nope, I'm done with you, because he said some hurtful things, and he's 6'4". He could hurt me. Yeah, there's been times where I have disrespected them, but I didn't mean to, and then there's times where that I've went to my children because I said something out of anger, and I went and apologized. Because, when I first started going to them and apologizing, it was years ago. They were little, like quite young, and I would go to them and I would say, well, Mommy made a mistake, because they were that young. And when I first started doing it, they were old enough to understand what mistakes were. They were old enough to understand that before, Mommy didn't apologize, and they were a little confused. But they learned that I was caring more about them and explaining to them when I was wrong than I was worried about my own self. Let's see, my daughter told my grandson he would not like me years ago. Well, people probably wouldn't have liked me years ago either. I was not nice. I was angry. I was very angry all the time. I lived in a sea of anger. But God has brought me out of that. But I have noticed one thing since I started apologizing to my children, and since that I started realizing, the little cues of whatever it is, or whatever the word might be. But I started realizing before I made the mistake that it was escalating to a point where I needed to stop and we needed to separate. And there were times whenever Jeff and I would have these arguments that it was bad. But then I started learning, okay, I'm starting to feel that way, that if I don't do something else right now, it's going to cause more issues. So we started deciding to, if we got to a certain point, we would separate, cool down, come back, discuss. And if we started feeling that way again, we would go separate, come back, cool down, and discuss. And we started using that technique with our children, where we would just, saying, go away, I can't have this discussion right now. It's not unkind. In fact, that I think, as a parent, as a wife, as a human, it is better to say, you know what, let's go back to our separate corners, squirt a little water on our faces, cool off a little bit, and then we'll come back and talk about this. We can come box a little more later. It's like, it's better to walk away and come back, because then you learn more from each other. And I can say I've learned a lot from my kids. My daughter is super calm. So calm that sometimes it's annoying. Some things that should be getting on her nerves do not get on her nerves. But I see this and I'm like, maybe I can learn from that. Maybe I could do that. Things that should be something that should cause her to say, you know what? I don't want anything to do with you anymore. Sometimes, she's super calm. And Noah is, both of them are very quiet. But Noah is super duper quiet. And he sits back and he listens, and he's a thinker. And you never know what he's gonna come up with. He comes back and he has a solution a lot of times. Or, then he I don't know. It's just, the whole point of this was, we are the ones that need to guide our children. Even if we don't have children, it needs to be that we're the ones that guide the ones that are younger than us. And sometimes even ones that are our same age, maybe older than us. Well, that's good, Carol, that you're back friends again. I mean, if we don't come back after the blow up, if we never come back and discuss, we'll never fix the problem. And that means the problem will keep escalating. It'll keep going, and it'll just grow into this monster that causes a whole lot of problems. And we don't want that. But the reason why I wanted to talk about his mother was she was guiding him. Yeah, it does cause a lot of divorces, Donna. It almost caused us to divorce because I was so angry all the time. And no, it wasn't all me. It wasn't all him. It was, both of us. We didn't have very good marriage role models. I can't speak English. I was not the one that was wrong. Yeah, Carol. But Jeff and I didn't have very good marriage role models. We didn't know how to be husband and wife. We didn't know how to be parents. We made a lot of mistakes, but we learned what those mistakes were, and we now still work on our marriage. We still work on, doing things the right way. And I can say we rarely ever argue. I mean, we may have a disagreement, but we don't argue anymore. And then with our kids, we learned how to raise them in a way that they knew they were always loved. They knew they were always important. They knew they could come to us for anything. And they have very good characters, and that's what matters. Something very important, sometimes what someone says is not what we hear. So true, Donna. We need clarification to hear what was said and understand. Yes, and I am a question asker. I have learned to dissect things because I don't want to get something wrong. Because sometimes if I just go by what you said to me, I will be super offended and super mad, and I will be like, it'll be crazy. So I have learned to ask lots of questions, the whys, the whats, the hows, all the questions about it, and until I understand what was really said, what was really meant by what was said. And I encourage others to do that with me. I encourage my children to, if they don't understand what I'm saying, ask me. Yeah, a tone of voice can be offensive. Noah, okay, when Noah first gets up in the morning, he's a little grumpy. He's not a morning person. And if you ask him something, he will sound mean sometimes. Even if he's not trying to be, even if it's not even anything that would be mean. But if you don't know Noah, you won't know that. Like, earlier I asked him which vehicle he was driving to work because he has two. And I asked him which one he was driving because Jeff took my truck and I didn't want to drive Jeff's car. I wanted to drive Noah's Jeep because I have to go to the grocery store. So I asked, which vehicle are you driving? And instead of him just telling me which one he was planning on driving, he said, why do you want to know? But only because he just saying, why do you want to know? You're not going anywhere, are you? It wasn't a mean thing. It wasn't because he was offended. It was because he had just woke up. He was getting ready for work. He was actually packing his lunch. And he just wanted to know which vehicle why I wanted to know what vehicle he was driving. I don't know if maybe he thought something was wrong with one of his vehicles or what the thing was. I said, oh, I just wanted to borrow your Jeep because I don't want to drive your daddy's car, And I could have taken that in a way that, don't mess with me before food and coffee. But, I could have taken what he said in a way and gotten very defensive, but I know my son. I know he didn't mean it in any kind of way. He was just wondering why that I wanted to know, But in the mornings, you don't talk to him very much because his brain is not caught up with him yet. And that's okay. It's okay because I've learned. And I told him, I said, I will warn your future wife not to talk to you in the morning. I will warn her so you won't hurt her feelings because it's just important. But yeah, it can save a lot of hassle, I think. But that's all I wanted to talk about today. We are supposed to be guiding our children for good. It's you don't have a child and raise them till they're 18 and you're done. That's just not how it works. It's not how it should work. That's the way it works with some people. Some people are like, okay, you're 16, you're done. You're the size of an adult. Bye. Don't talk to me in the middle of the night as I won't remember it. Oh, no. I may not either. I don't know. Well, I'm usually up pretty late. But, we're supposed to guide our children no matter their age, no matter what authority they have. And that's just what I wanted to talk about today. And I just kind of wanted to talk about his mother because Mother's Day is coming up. I wanted to remind y'all of that. If your mother is still here with you, to call her or something. Hopefully your children remember you as well. You're 18 and I can't control what you do is not good either, as if they are in your home. They need to respect you and your rules. Yes, exactly. My children are 21 and 22, and if I tell them they can't go to a certain place, they don't go. Noah has his job. He has 2 vehicles. He's 22, but he still lives here. And if I don't want him to go somewhere because I don't feel as safe, I tell him. Which he doesn't ever want to go anywhere much. But I don't have to worry about my children staying out late either. Because in fact, my children follow me like on the Google location thing, the location tracker. They track me. And I can see where they're at all times. All 4 of us are like that. Yeah. I can still turn them over in my lap. Yeah, that's right. No matter how old our kids get, we need to guide them. Because even if they're married and have children of their own, if they're doing something that is wrong, that's going against God's word, or will potentially hurt them, you need to say, hey, don't just freak out, but in a loving manner, tell them what they're doing and tell them why. There were so many times in my life people would say I shouldn't be doing something, but they couldn't ever tell me why I shouldn't. And I didn't understand it. I'm like, well, why shouldn't I do it? And I always want to know the why. I always want to know the why of why everything happens, why everything's going on. As much as I can, I want to know the why. And we need to have that. We need to study our Bible so we can have a backup. So we can say, hey, this is why I believe what I believe. Because if we don't, I feel like we are failing ourselves as well as our children. I feel like that's just me. That's how I feel. But I mean, even once Noah gets married, I want his wife to know that she can come to me. And whenever Selena gets married, I want her husband to know he can come to me. And I want them to respect my guidance. The kids need to know you are not going to lose your temper on them and need to be able to tell you anything. Exactly, Donna. And my children do. They come to me with things, and there have been times that Selena has come to me and she thought I was going to freak out, and she was very surprised when I didn't, because, I feel like my face is super, like, washed out. Now I look like a floating head. I'm floating around. But yeah, children, we're their first guides. We're the first ones that teach them things. Told my son-in-law he better not get in the way because I will not be the same to him. There are worse things than tattoos and purple hair. I've had purple hair. I've had it. And I have tattoos. But, yeah, I mean, your hair grows back out, hopefully. If not. But, I don't know. And also, another thing is, there's things that, like, my daughter not long ago, well, it was last year, she wanted me to dye her bangs red and then 2 streaks down the side. I didn't love the idea of it, and I was like, you want the rest of it to be brown and you want that to be red? Okay, I'll do it. It grows back out. It actually looked okay. It looks cute, but I thought it was going to look horrible. But it was actually cute. But there are some things, there are limits, but there are some things you kids, they need to learn. And it's better for them to learn from you and to learn at home than to learn from their buddies who don't know any better themselves. Because I know my son's friends, they've actually asked me for advice. Yeah, pick your battles. You definitely pick your battles. Reminds you of a skunk. Hey, I got some white hairs, but they're natural. At one point, this part was whiter than everything else, but now I don't know. I think it's all blended. I don't know. Let's see. It's a mess. That's what it is. It's a mess. But I think I'm going to go for today. I've actually stayed longer than I had planned, but that's okay. Jeff and Noah are at work, so I'm not having to cook any supper for, any particular thing tonight. Just, I'm not having to cook a big supper. I did that earlier, like a whatever lunch thing. No, I didn't. I had cooked last night. Jeff did grill some steaks for them. That's what happened today. I am just confused. Jeff changed shifts. Jeff's back at work. I don't know if I told you guys that. He's back at work. He went back last week. Yeah, he went back to work last week. So, I forgot to tell you all that. I've been meaning to. I think I said it on another video. But anyway, I'm going to go. I will talk to you guys later. I really hope you enjoyed this. I hope I made some sense. And remember, we can guide our children in the right ways until the day we die. But we need to make sure that we are learning the right ways ourselves. So I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. And remember, don't take any wooden nickels and be sweet.